Well, Utah Governor Spencer Cox took questions on some of the big issues today, whether it's how Utah counties deal with ICE or updates on that No Kings protest deadly shooting in Salt Lake City. Our Jonathan May is live with a breakdown of what the governor said today. Jonathan.
That's right, Brian. You mentioned a couple talking points there. The big takeaway, along with the governor's thoughts on ICE, is the governor saying the Department of Public Safety warned No Kings protest organizers not to bring in armed peacekeepers to keep the protests safe months before the deadly shooting.
Get out of this area!
Our DPS said it's a bad idea. You can do it. It's not illegal. There's nothing illegal about it. It's just a bad idea. And they said, well, we think it's a good idea. End of conversation.
Afa Alu, a bystander, killed at the No Kings protest following a shooting involving a peacekeeper and protester reportedly carrying a rifle. When the governor was asked about who's responsible for his death, he answered the district attorney will eventually make the call.
A lot of good people who made mistakes, and it's a tragedy. I don't know who's ultimately responsible, but I think a lot of people are responsible for what happened, and it's a terrible tragedy.
He also addressed Utah's relationship with ICE and the 287G agreements. He says the state has no control over ICE, but local agencies will do everything to make sure immigration enforcement is done the right way.
We've always made it clear that we have to follow the law and the Constitution, and racially profiling is not acceptable in our state, never will be, and we preach that and we enforce that, and we will continue to do so.
Governor Cox says this about the agreements, which allow local officers to execute ICE removal operations.
What this agreement for the state allows us to do is to go through that process within the jail system to make sure that they're not released back onto the street where they can commit more crimes, but they actually are deported.
Another topic was brought up by our own Lindsay Ertz regarding Senator Mike Lee's social media posts after the assassinations of a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband.
What did you think of Senator Lee's tweets about the Minnesota shootings?
I thought they were awful.
And then there's questions of President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill and the changes to Medicaid and SNAP.
Many of those cuts are going to be implemented later under the terms of the bill, and so I think everybody's trying to figure out what that means.
The governor says if Utahns are going to lose coverage, the state will consider stepping in.
We've done some interesting things in the past to help people who are struggling with their health care, and we'll look back at those programs to see if there's a way to implement more in the future.
What about SNAP as well?
Yeah, SNAP again, another one that we'll be looking very closely at, and what those impacts will be. It may mean we end up funding more from the state level as our budgets allow us to do that.
The governor says he's working with the Department of Health and Human Services to find the exact number of how many Utahns will be affected. Reporting in the newsroom, Jonathan May, ABC4 News.